Today's lesson is subtraction of integers. The objectives are to subtract integers using colored counters or sign chips and number lines, and to solve word problems involving subtraction of integers. Example, if we are to use sign chips, let us subtract 3 from 5. Since we have 5 positives, it means that we have to take away 3 positives from 5. So the remaining chips will only be 2 positives. Now, if we are to subtract negative from a negative, let us represent that with the negative chips. So it means that we have to take away 3 negatives from 5 negatives, and the remaining chips will only be 2 negatives. In that model, the concept of subtraction as taking away is effectively used. Now, let us subtract 5 positives from 3 positives. So, how do we do that? Since there are not enough sign chips to take away from 3, so we have to add 5 positives and 5 negatives, since this number of positives and negatives represent or is equivalent to 0. Then you have to take away the 5 positive counters or 5 positive chips, and the remaining chips will be the 3 positives and the 5 negatives. As you can see, with these chips, the configuration is the same as positive 3 plus negative 5. So if we proceed with addition, we have 3 plus negative 5. Then we have to combine all the positives with all the negatives. This will become 0. And our remaining chips will be 2 negatives. That is equal to negative 2. Now let's have this another example. Subtracting negatives from positive. Since there are not enough negatives, we only have 3 positives. Then we have to make another counters again. We have to add 5 positive counters and 5 negative counters, and this is equivalent to 0. Now let's take all the negative counters here. Then the remaining counters will all be positive, and that would give us positive 8. Or it means that we have to proceed with addition. So that is 3 plus positive 5, that is positive 8. So the last 2 examples illustrate the definition of subtraction as the addition of the negative or the opposite sign. Now let us use the number line in subtracting integers. So if we have 5 minus 3, we have here positive 5. How do we subtract positive 3 from 5? It means that we have to move left on the number line to subtract a positive integer. As you can see here, we are on positive 5. We move 3 places to the left. The resulting integer will be positive 2. Now let's have another example. Negative 5 minus negative 3. So we start at negative 5. How do we subtract negative 3? We have to move 3 places to the right to subtract negative 3. So the resulting integer will be negative 2. Another example, if we have to subtract positive 5 from positive 3, we should start at positive 3. So in which direction should we go? Since we are subtracting a positive number, we have to move to the left. 5 places to the left, that will give us negative 2. Next example, if we are to subtract negative 5 from negative 3, let's start at negative 3. Since our number is, or our integer is negative, and we have to subtract it from 3. So we have to move in which direction? Yes, we have to move to the right, 5 places to the right. That will give us positive 2. So what have you noticed when we are subtracting integers using a number line? To subtract signed numbers or integers, that is subtraction as the inverse of addition. So to subtract two integers is to add the negative or the additive inverse of the subtrahend to the minuend. So which is the minuend? That is the first number. The subtrahend is our next number. And we have to change the next number into its inverse or opposite sign. Then we have to proceed to addition. That goes with these examples. So as you have noticed, 5 or positive 5 minus positive 3. So we have positive 5. We have to change the operation subtraction into addition and change the positive into negative. Then that will give us positive 2. So if we have negative 5 minus negative 3, change negative into or change subtraction into addition, change negative into positive, then proceed to add since our new operation is addition. So when we are adding different signs, we are subtracting. So negative 5 plus positive 3, that will give us negative 2. 3 minus 5, that means 3 plus negative 5. Again, we are adding different signs, so we have to subtract. That will give us 2. Why negative? Because the higher number is containing a negative sign. So we have to use negative. Next is negative 3 minus negative 5. So that is negative 3. Subtraction becomes addition. Negative becomes positive. Then again, combine these two numbers, negative and positive. We have to subtract. Then the answer will be positive 2. Or you can always remember the keep change change rule. So you have just to keep the sign of the minuend or the first number, change the minus into plus, then change the sign of the subtrahend, the second number. Positive will become negative and negative will become positive. Now please do these exercises. Now let us solve this word problem.